Hi, my 130s. So I am actually going to be covering more Chapter 6 homework alternate problems today. I'm going to go with the odd ones to try to speed things up a bit. I did a part 3 last night with the LAC group, so I will post that on my YouTube channel tonight, as well as this video. First thing I'm going to do is start with an activity that I went over with my group yesterday. So basically, this should help you with trying to simplify your radicals and realizing that you do need to write whatever these indices are here. And like for this one, if you see nothing, the index is 2. Okay, so that must be written throughout your problems. Like if you're given a 4th root, you need to keep a 4th root throughout the problem. If you're given a square root, keep a square root. A common mistake is like you simplify a cube root and then somehow you just draw in a square root of whatever simplified, but you don't want to do that. All right, so basically the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to see that the prime factors for this radicand 96x to the 8th, y to the 15th will always be the same. Okay, you're going to have 8 x's multiplied together, 15 y's multiplied together. And we need to figure out what the primes multiplied together for 96 will be. So that's why we're going to start with prime factoring for 96. Remember, you have some options here in terms of which factors you decide to go down with. So I'm going to pick 48 and 2 just because I know 96 is even, so it will be divisible by 2. Doesn't have to be your only option for your first breakdown. However, when you break this down, you should get the same prime factorization no matter what. All right, 48, that's 6 and 8. 6 is 2 and 3. 8 is 2 and 4. And 4 is 2 and 2. Okay, so 96, the prime factorization is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 to the 5th times 3. And you can actually check that in a calculator. Multiply 2 5 times and then multiply 3, you get 96. Or you can put 2 to the 5th and multiply by 3, you get 96. So that checks out. So that's the first thing that we wanted to do here. I'm going to go ahead and save this picture. And then I'm going to clear this prime factorization part out. All right, so we'll just do one of them at a time. Start with part A. Square root 96 x to the 8th, y to the 15th. Now this part's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. I'm actually going to do it the long way. If you're already comfortable with the exponent way, you can do that one as well. I'll show you that trick before I move on to the homework for today. So 96 is 2 to the 5th times 3. And then you have multiplied x to the 8th and y to the 15th. Okay, next step. So let's write all this out long. Actually, yeah, okay, something that'll make life easier. I'm gonna put the Radicand off to the side. Just get rid of this for right now. So the Radicand turns into 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 And then that's times 8 x's and 15 y's. So hopefully you can see all those. I'm going to keep these here throughout all 3 of these problems so we can see how it affects. So back to our problem over here. Okay, you have a square root here, which means n is equal to 2. So you want to look for pairs of factors under the radical sign. So let's go ahead and do that. We have a pair of 2's, 2, x, 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 x. Okay. So technically in this next step, you could write that this pink part here turns into all this. Write all that under there. Now, we can go to this step next. When you actually line up everything like this and you choose your pairs, go ahead and make a radical sign. Leave yourself some space in front and space underneath the radical sign, and make sure you put the same index right here. So essentially for every pair, we only take out one of the factors. And for everything that's not in a pair, that part is going to stay under the radical sign. So for this one, to make it easier, because we can see there aren't that many things that'll stay under the radical sign, we would have 2 times 3y under the radical sign. And the parts that come out from the pairs, you have a 2 multiplied by another 2 multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, x to the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, y to the 7th. Okay, so then our final answer, we just need to multiply those guys together. You get 4x to the 4th, y to the 7th, square root 6y. Okay. Now, this is the radical method. You could also use exponents if you are comfortable enough with this. So before I move on to the next few, let's do that. That didn't work out. Well, I guess since I'm going to have to write it anyway, again. Whatever. All right, so we'll leave this here just to confirm. So using the exponent method, instead of radicals, we have square root 96x to the 8th, y to the 15th. That's going to turn into 96x to the 8th, y to the 15th, all to the 1/2 power. Okay, so your radicand becomes the base. So radicand of the radical becomes the base for your exponential form. And then your radical sign and the index become a fractional exponent. All right, so what we found in the last problem is that 96 is 2 to the 5th times 3. And then we have x to the 8th, y to the 15th. And that's to the 1/2 power. And then you can actually split all of these. Remember, exponential rules, we have 2 to the 5th. That's going to be to the 1/2 power. Three. That'll be to the 1/2 power. X to the 8th to the 1/2 power. And finally, y to the 15th to the 1/2 power. Okay, move this out the way. Just move it off the screen a little bit there for a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to use one color now. So we have 2 to the 5/2, 3 to the 1/2, x to the 8/2, y to the 15/2. Okay, so here's where it gets a little weird. Okay. Essentially, how do I want to explain this without being too confusing? I think I probably should have explained this one a little bit differently, actually. I'll do it differently for the next one. Hopefully you can follow along with what I'm doing here. Essentially, what I did, I broke off the even powers of 2. So like 2 to the 4th and 2 to the 1st put together become 2 to the 5th. So I can split that up into 2 to the 4th and 2 to the 1st and then take both to the 1/2 power. The reason I do that is because here I have 4 evenly divided by 2, right? So I get 2 squared. That part is what's going to be on the outside here. And then I still have my 2 to the 1/2. My 3 to the 1/2. My x to the 4th. My y to the 7th. And my y to the 1/2. So that gives me let's do color still. 4 x to the 4th, y to the 7th. And then all the stuff with the 1/2 power still, that's the stuff that's going to go back under the radical sign. Okay, so if you simplify this, 6y to the 1/2 becomes 6y square rooted. So I have a better way to do that. I'll show it in the next one, but I'm going to continue. I think I'll probably make a separate video for your chapter 6 homework. That way it won't be too long. Like this will just be an activity video. All right, let me clear out a lot of stuff now from here. Okay, so next is part B. We have the cube root of 96x to the y to the 15th. So first thing, we're going to need to write a cube root again. Make sure you have that 3. Then we have that underneath the radical sign. So extend your radical all the way to the end. Okay, now remember this 3 here is telling us that we're looking for groups of 3 factors before one factor can come outside the radical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now this step, put your cube root, give yourself space in the front and back. You circle in green what gets left underneath the radical. That's going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times x. In the front, it's going to be 1, 2. 1, 2 x's, x squared. Actually, let me write it separate. X and x, 1 for each pair. And then 5 y's. Okay, so what we get from this one is 2x squared, y to the 5th, cube root, C4, 12, x squared. So hopefully you're already seeing a difference here, like between problem A and B. The index is really important. Let me save, and then I'm going to clear this out. And then show you a better way for the exponent method. It's still going to involve using radicals. So exponent method with help from radicals. Okay, so we're going to take this here. We're going to put our cube root. And then we're going to have 96 broken, but keep exponent form underneath the radical sign. So 2 to the 5th times 3. Keep x to the 8th as it is, and keep y to the 15th as it is. Now, essentially what you're trying to do, you're trying to break up into groups that are divisible by 3. So before I do the next step, let me write this in. I personally know this will turn into 2 to the 3rd times 2 squared, because that's still 2 to the 5th, but I've broken off one of the groups so that the exponent is divisible by the index out here. I'm still going to have my 3. And then I'm going to have, so x to the 8th, 6 is divisible by 3. And there's 2 left over. 15 is actually already divisible by 3. Okay, so here's what we get in the next step. Okay, we have a group of 3 here. That brings it out 1, 2. You have a group here. 6 is divisible by 3 2 times. That becomes the exponent for x. 15 is divisible by 3. 15 divided 3 is 5, so that becomes the exponent for y. And then all the other stuff is left over. 2 to the 4th is 4, times 3 is 12. And then you have x squared here. So it still comes out the same way. All right, let me clear this bottom part out and do the last part. Okay, so we have part C, which is the 4th root of the same radicand. So 4th root okay, all these 2's are multiplied together, multiplied by 3, okay. So now, similarly, look for groups of 4. So here's 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 3 left over. Circle the things that are left over. So now we are going to put our 4th root, leave space in front and back. In the front, you're going to have 1, 2 from that group of 4 2's. We have 1, 2 x's. That's going to be times x. We have 1, 2, 3 y's. And then underneath the radical sign, you're going to have 2 times 3 y to the 3rd. So simplified, you get 2x squared y to the 3rd. 4th root 6y cubed. Okay. So hopefully you've seen how all of those come out differently. The whole point of this exercise is 1, seeing how to simplify radicals, and 2, seeing how the index affects your answer. One last thing I want to do for this part is the exponential method way. Just to confirm we get the same thing. And it is actually a little bit easier if you can think about it that way, but if not, just go ahead and keep writing it out the long way. So we have 4th root 2 to the 5th times 3 x to the 8th y to the 15th. So you want to break the twos up so that you have groups that are divisible by 4. So 4. So we're going to put 2 to the 4 and then times 2. Keep multiply 3 there. And then x to the 8th can stay because 8 is divisible by 4. And then you have y to the 12th and 3 y's left over. So all the stuff that's going to wind up coming out, all the stuff with exponents that are evenly divisible by 4, the things that stay underneath the radical sign, the rest of the stuff. So what do we get here? We have 1, 2 come out. We have x, so 8 divided by 4, that's power of 2. Y to the 12th, take 12 divided 4, that's power of 3. You still have your 4th root. And then you have 6y to the 3rd underneath. That's a little bit faster this way. All right, so I'm going to stop this video and then I will use the next video to go over your homework alternate chapter 6 part 4.